Hello. It's good to see you. This is part 2 of my questions. I asked people in a community post to give me some questions if they had any questions for me. I'm not going to whisper this. It's going to be the same format as the other one. It's just the other one was running a little long and I still have 15 questions to go. I'm not going to whisper it because a lot of people can't hear me or understand me when I whisper, and I wanted them to be able to hear what I say. So I'm doing them both in the same format. So if you do like my whispers, I have literally hundreds of them in playlists if you want to hear them. I guarantee you there are at least one or two you haven't heard that are in that playlist, especially now that I'm doing 2 videos a day at least. I'm hoping to do 3 today. So you might be able to find a whisper video in there, but I'm not going to whisper this. Okay, we're up to question 16. Where do you get your energy? You always seem so busy and active and energetic. Do you have any tips for staying energized and motivated? Well, I mentioned this in part 1. My superpower is that I am a twitchy, fidgety, anxious person. I have a hard time sitting still. I have a hard time just sitting down. I'm always thinking of something I need to do, and I pop right back up and I go do it. So I have learned to harness that energy and put it toward productive things. And I do that by having a list. You can write it down. I just keep a list in my head of things I want to get done every day. And I'm always focusing on that list and trying to check things off the list to get as much done as possible. Because for me, I find that productivity is very rewarding. I feel really good when I have a day where I get a lot done. And I have days where I don't get a lot done. I have days where I goof off. I mean, you need those every now and then. I do that. But for the most part, I do try to get a lot done every day. So it might help you to make a list of what you want to do. It might also help if you track your time usage. Like if you just make a list however you want to on your phone or on paper. I like to write things on paper. For me, that really does something for me. It helps me to just see it written on a piece of paper, and I have to write it. Just to keep track of where all your time goes every day. It's kind of like calorie counting, I guess. You can consume a lot of calories in a short period of time without realizing it. But once you start keeping track of it, you start to see like, okay, it's starting to become clear. You may find that you're spending a lot of time on frivolous things. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you do it every day, you're not going to be very productive and you're not going to get a lot done. My motivation comes from the fact that I am a twitchy, fidgety, anxious ball of energy, and I've always been that way. When I wake up in the morning, I am up. I am just up. My brain is already going before I even get out of bed. And that's a wonderful benefit. I know a lot of people are not like that. I come from a family of people that they are not morning people. Like my mom, it would take her a good 45 minutes from the time she got up to just be able to function. Like she would just sit at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and she was just like this, and that's the way she was every morning. And I'm zipping around, buzzing around the house, doing what I have to do. And she is just like, that's the way she was. She's always been like that. My dad and my brother are kind of the same way, but I've always been that way ever since I was a kid. And I'm still like that. When I wake up, I am up and I am ready to go. Like, what are we doing today? What are we doing? And I want to get started, so that's kind of how I am. And I realize that's a big advantage for me because a lot of people are not like that. But if you do have that advantage, you want to learn to harness that energy and put it towards good stuff, which is not always easy to do, but I've somehow managed to do it for the most part. Do I have any tips for staying energized and motivated? Exercise. Get more exercise. Drink more water. Try to get sleep. I don't get enough sleep. I know I don't get enough sleep. Drink more water. Move around more. Exercise for me gives me more energy. It clears my head. It's wonderful. Whatever you want to do, walk around the block. Walk back and forth in your driveway. Whatever works for you. Whatever kind of exercise you like. Like I hate running. I can't stand running. Well, my right knee doesn't want me to run anyway. It yells at me if I run too much. But I do a lot of other exercises. Every day I do different types of work, different types of exercises, different workouts. I do strength training, balance. Working on your balance is good. Core strength. Well, if you work on your balance, it helps with your core strength as well. Aerobics. I do aerobics 3 days a week typically. I do a bunch of different exercises, and they all help your body, and they help your mind. So I would recommend that. And make sure you drink plenty of water, exercise more, and learn to harness. If you have any of that nervous energy, try to learn how to harness it. But yeah, exercise and water would help anybody. It will help anybody. It will help you sleep better. You'll be sore. I mean, when you start, you're going to be sore, but keep going. Work through that. Don't give up because you're sore. Don't overdo it to the point where you can't move. I mean, start out slow, but if you start exercising on a regular basis, I guarantee you will feel better. You will have more energy. You will think more clearly. It will change your body and your mind. That would be the thing I would recommend above anything else. Okay. Number 17. What has been your biggest struggle with doing YouTube so far? Well, right now I'm struggling with AdSense because they keep saying I have invalid traffic on my channel, and I don't know what they're basing that on. I mean, all they keep doing is defining invalid traffic. Like, I know what it is. Why are you saying I have it? And why are you keeping my money? Which I'll never get that money back. But my biggest struggle with YouTube, nitpicky people. Not even the trolls, because I'm not talking about them. You know, the ones who say, like, you're ugly and your mother dresses you funny. Not them. The nitpickers. The nitpicky people. Because I have always been a people pleaser by nature. That's just what I am. I've tried to work on it, and I recognize that about myself. But it is still part of who I am. So it can be extremely discouraging when you're like that. To just get the feeling like no matter what I do, it's never, ever good enough. You know, and it's very discouraging. You make a video and you feel really good about it, and people come along, I like your video, but there's this little thing, and I really hate that. Why is this little thing in here? Why is that in there? Why did you put that there? Why did you place that in that spot? I can't sleep now. I've literally had people say, I can't sleep now knowing you put that in the wrong spot. Why do you do that? Do you do it on purpose? How did you not notice that? Or they'll say, well, you might not have known this, but blah, 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 and that's wrong. You got this little thing wrong. Stuff like that. It is so, and I realize people have the right to say whatever they want, but that to me is the most discouraging thing. Like, because then you just feel like no matter what I do, it's never good enough. It's never good enough. And it just makes me sad. And I will ruminate on it and then feel worse. So that to me is the biggest challenge, is just people that no matter what I do, it's just never quite good enough for them. To the point where I'll tell them, I will literally just say, well, it sounds like this might not be the channel for you, because some people are just chronic nitpicky commenters. Like, you keep seeing the same people, and I don't want to block them because they have the right to they're not being mean per se. They're not being mean to me or anybody else. They're just pointing out every little flaw they can find and telling me that it really bothers me. Why do you do that? Well, I don't know. I didn't do it on purpose. I've made over 3,400 videos for YouTube. I'm bound to make some that you don't like, or that have something in them that bothers you. It's bound to happen. I'm not Nutella. I can't please everybody. But that's the hardest thing for me, is dealing with nitpicky people. And I'll tell people, maybe this isn't the channel for you, and then they get defensive. Well, excuse me. No, you need to learn to take constructive criticism. I'm not the problem. You are. And that's what they'll say to me. Well, you need to quit being so sensitive. Okay. I'm just trying to help you out. I'm pointing out problems with your videos, and I don't know why you're attacking me for it. So you need to work on yourself. So that's what I get from a lot of these people. That bugs me more than anything else. I think that there's really nothing that compares to that. Because the trolls, I mean, it's obvious what they're doing. But some of the nitpicky people, I'm not really sure what their motivation is. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. It'd be really cool if people didn't do it. But they do. That's my biggest struggle so far. Okay, number 18. You appear to be so positive and resilient. I haven't been very positive lately. Where do you gather your strength? What motivates you as a mother and a woman? Well, first of all, I don't choose to look at it as what motivates me as a mother and a woman. I just look at what motivates me as a person. I don't define myself that way. You know, I don't look at it like, well, I'm going to have a harder time of something because of this and that. I look at it as I'm an adult human living in this world in the current year. How am I going to navigate through life at this point being an adult? I'm not worried about whether I'm a mom or a woman or whatever, because I think once you start putting yourself in those little boxes, it becomes very easy to start rationalizing and excusing things. Because I could very easily do that. I'm a single mom. You can't expect too much of me. I'm just a, you know, I'm a woman, and I can't, you know, I don't have the ability to do things because people won't let me. And don't put yourself in those boxes. Don't let other people put you in those boxes. Stop worrying about all that. You're a person, okay? You're an adult. Focus on your strengths and your weaknesses, because we all have them. I don't worry about whether, you know, being a mom and a woman and all that. I mean I am, but okay, what does that have to do with where I draw my strength from? I would draw strength from somewhere regardless of any of that. I draw my strength from my past experiences, knowing that there have been things that I have overcome in my past that give me the confidence to know that I could handle that. I certainly can handle this. I've dealt with bigger and scarier problems than this. I can handle this one too. I can tackle this one too. I have it in me to do that. And the more problems you overcome, the more challenges you face and tackle and resolve, the more confidence you will have. It kind of snowballs. You will realize you are capable of a lot more than you thought. You know, it's the saying, you never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have. That's all you got. That's all you can do is just get through it. You have to be strong. You have to get through this. But doing that, when you come out on the other side and you're done, you're going to look back and go, wow, that was really cool. Look at what I was able to do. I never thought I could do that, but I did. I did it. You start to feel like you have a superpower, like, man, I really did it. And that's true. I don't care if you're a man, woman, whether you have kids, you don't have kids, married, single, divorced, whatever. That's going to apply to you no matter what. You can look back on that. I mean, I bet you have stuff in your past that you can look back on and go, you know, I lived through that. I got through some crazy stuff back then, and I had to deal with a lot. And I'm still here. I am still alive. I am still doing it every day. I can handle this. I can handle this too. But you have to have more than just confidence. You have to have more than motivation. You have to have a plan. Do you have a plan? You got to work on a plan. Because you can be confident all day long, but if you don't have a plan and you're not going to put it into action, you're not going to do anything, all the confidence in the world, all the motivation in the world is not going to do a damn thing for you. So you have to have a plan. You need your confidence. Look back at what you've done in the past. Think about all the things that you have overcome in your life. You got your confidence going for you. That's your motivation because you did it before. You can do it again. You can handle this. Okay? What are you going to do? Now you got to sit down with a pen and a paper and figure out what you're going to do. That is up to you. That is something that you're going to have to do. But you can take all that confidence and that motivation to sit down and do that and know that you can come up with a good plan and you can solve this problem. That has nothing to do with who you are, where you're from, whatever labels you want to put on yourself. That has nothing to do with it. I don't define myself that way. I don't look at it that way. Because as I said, I think if you do, it can be very tempting to use those little boxes to excuse yourself when you don't take action and you don't change anything and you don't succeed in whatever it was you wanted to do. Well, it wasn't my fault. And I know people like that. Well, it wasn't my fault that I didn't get that job, or it wasn't my fault that I didn't finish school. It was totally out of my control. Was it though? Was it really? I didn't achieve that goal, but it's not my fault. Yeah, it never is. I mean, I know people like that. Like nothing is ever their fault. I couldn't help it. Yeah. Well, excuses may make you feel better right now, but is it going to change your life? Is it going to make your life better? Is your life going to be better 5 years from now? You can be comfortable with your excuses, but it's not going to change anything. So you have to have the motivation, you have to have the confidence, but you also have to do stuff. You have to sacrifice and work hard for anything you want, because it is not going to be handed to you. That's just the way the world works. So how do I stay so positive and resilient? I don't always. Sometimes I'm not positive at all. I mean, I have days where I just feel sorry for myself. I do. I'll sit in the driveway and cry in my car. I've done it before. You have your cry, and then you dry your eyes and figure out what you're going to do. All right? Got that over with. Now what? What are we going to do? I don't know how helpful that was, but that's how I think about it. Here's number 19. I've always wondered, at what point in your life did you try going blonde, and do you prefer it? I was born blonde. I was blonde. I mean, I was a platinum blonde until I was like 10. I had platinum blonde hair. I am blonde. Now, as I've gotten older, it got darker. I didn't go blonde. I've always had lighter hair. It's kind of a dishwater blonde now. And in my family, we go gray early. My parents both started going gray in their teens. My brother started going gray also in his teens. By the time he graduated high school, he had salt and pepper hair. I started going gray when I was 21. And so I have quite a bit of gray. I wasn't happy with it. So I've always colored my hair. I've colored my hair for over 20 years. So I started coloring my hair when it started turning gray. When I graduated for the first time from college at 21, I already had gray hair. And I knew from my parents and my brother that was probably going to happen, and it did. It took me a little bit longer for me than it did for them. You know, I do color my hair. This is done by somebody who knows what they're doing. I don't color my own hair anymore because I made a hot mess of it. So I pay someone who knows what they're doing to color my hair. But I didn't decide just to go blonde one day. I guess I decided to go blonde when I was born. So that's when I made my decision. They also asked if I prefer being blonde. Yeah, blondes have more fun. Am I going to stop coloring my hair? I don't plan to. No. I like it just fine the way it is. Okay. Number 20. In a video, you said your family did not really do holidays, like Halloween wasn't a thing for you guys, and Christmas was tough. So my question is, was your relationship with your family hard because of this? Well, okay. Here's the thing. My mom hated holidays. It's not that we didn't do those things because of like religious reasons or anything like that. I mean, I knew people like that didn't do Halloween, or it wasn't that. My mom just hated holidays. She hated anything that involved any kind of effort. So we never really did anything for any holiday. Nothing. I mean, like Thanksgiving, we didn't go anywhere. My mom's parents, my dad's parents both died when I was really small. My mom's parents didn't do anything for Thanksgiving or Christmas or Halloween. They didn't really do anything either. So it's not like some families where you go, you go travel or something. You go see family. We didn't do that. We never did anything for Thanksgiving. My mom typically would buy like a turkey breast and a can of cranberry sauce, and we would have that. See, my dad hates food like that, so she would make it for my brother and me and herself. Then she would have to make a separate meal for my dad because he hates turkey and cranberry sauce and stuff like that. That was all we would do for Thanksgiving. Halloween, I always tell the story of what happened when I was 4. I don't know if you heard that, but long story short, our car got egged the first time that she ever took me trick-or-treating. I was 4, my brother was 8, and I was so excited. And we got halfway down the first street, some kids egged our car, and it made my mom so mad that she said that we were never doing anything. We were never going out trick-or-treating ever again, and we never did. We never did anything else for Halloween after that. That was it. And honestly, I think it was an excuse to just not do anything because she hated it anyway. She didn't want to go anyway, so she just said, well, that's it. We're never doing anything else, and we never did. And to me, it was just normal. When you're growing up in a family, you may not realize that what you're going through is not normal. You don't know, because you don't know any different. That's your whole world. That's all you know. I mean, you can look at your friends, and I sometimes, like if I went to stay with a friend for the weekend, I would notice that their life was very different from mine in a lot of ways. But I don't know. I just didn't really think about it that much. It didn't make life hard because I didn't really know any different. That was just the way life was in my house. We didn't do anything for holidays. Bare minimum for Christmas. If my parents could have skipped Christmas altogether, they would have. They wouldn't have done anything at all. I mean, but they had small kids, and like socially that's unacceptable. Like you have to do something for your kids. So, there were a lot of years that I would go out in the woods and I would cut a tree because my dad said, I'm not spending good money on a Christmas tree. We lived out in the middle of a forest. If you want a tree, get your machete, go out in the woods and cut one down. And I started doing that when I was about 8. I had a machete. I'd go out in the woods and I'd find a tree, and it was like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. I would cut it, drag it home, set it up in the stand, keep it watered. We had this sad little box of decorations that they were just sad, like yard sale leftover Christmas decorations. I would decorate it to the best of my ability, and that was our tree. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a tree at all. It was the only way we were going to have one. And I did that every year for a long time. Before that, we had an artificial tree that looked like pipe cleaners. But then one time my mom went to get it out of the box, and it had just, like, all the green stuff had just disintegrated off of it, and it was just like wire. So they got rid of it, and that's when I had to go start cutting down trees in the woods. But it didn't bother me. When you're growing up, you just get used to your family the way it is, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. That's just the way it is. So it didn't make my relationship with my family hard. No, not at all. Now, when I got out on my own, I thoroughly enjoyed being able to do stuff, especially for Christmas. And I made a promise to myself as a kid. And I made several promises to myself. And one of the promises I made was that at Christmas time, I would have, to the best of my ability financially, I would have a tree that I loved. I would do my tree the way I wanted to. And I would have a pretty Christmas tree. And some years that didn't look like much because I didn't have much money, but I was always happy to be able to do what I could do, and I was lucky for a number of years because there's this place in Virginia up near where my dad lives, and for a long time, like 5 or 6 years in a row, when I would go visit my dad around Christmas, I would stop by this place. It was like a produce place, and you could get these big, beautiful, real trees, and they were just $20. And these were like 6-foot trees, 6-7 foot, and they were beautiful trees. $20. You pick your own tree, $20. And I could afford that. So for several years, I would have like a big, beautiful tree. And I just had ornaments that I'd picked up at yard sales and flea markets. And I would just, decorate it. And I was so proud of that tree. It was so pretty. It was beautiful, and it smelled good, and, made my apartment smell nice. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. So I still try to do what I can. I try to do, of course, I do like 2 trees a year. I don't know if, I think I'll still do, I'm going to do 2 this year. Yeah, I already have my themes picked out. I do a different theme every year. And with a lot of the ornaments, I give them away for other people to use. People that want, are looking for ornaments for their tree for next year. I give them away. I don't keep them all because I have a tiny attic. I don't have anywhere to put it. So I just give it to somebody else to use after I use them. So it helps me, it helps them, and it makes me very happy. My mom stopped doing anything at all for Christmas after I moved out. She didn't really do anything. She never does anything for my kids at all. Birthdays, she doesn't do anything for birthdays. She cannot be bothered to do anything for any kind of occasion. She's just not interested in it. Just, I don't know, something about it just bugs her. Like, why are you expecting me to do stuff? I'm not going to do stuff. I'm not doing anything. But I've always known, like, that's just how she is. You just know how your parents are. That's the way they are. So it didn't make my relationship hard with them because of that, though. Maybe I had trouble with my relationship for other reasons, but not because of holidays. So I've tried to make it fun for my kids. I've tried to make sure they enjoyed Halloween and Easter and Christmas, and I've tried to make it fun for them. I've tried to give them what I would have liked as a kid but never got, like Easter egg hunts, and I'd do an Easter basket for them, and help them pick out costumes or make a costume for Halloween and take them out trick-or-treating, and I really enjoyed getting to see them enjoy it, and it's really great. I just wish it had been different for me, but I can't change that. But I can do that for my kids, and I've tried to do that. Of course, they've outgrown all of that, but they still like to get a little bit of candy at Easter, so I always give them some treats for Easter, and so, and Halloween they don't really do anything, but they do help me hand out candy sometimes, so that's nice. So it didn't make my relationship with my family hard. No, not because that's just the way it was. Number 21. How to become unself-conscious in general, either in public, at the office, etc. I know it's a journey, but it's hard when you've grown up like this. Well, I grew up like that too. I was very self-conscious, very nervous in public all of my life, up until probably just the last 10 years or so. But it did gradually get better over time, because I had an epiphany when I was in college. I think I was a freshman, and there was this one morning my alarm clock didn't go off, and I had an 8 o'clock class, and I woke up late, and I just grabbed and threw on whatever clothes I could find and ran out the door. I was running to my class because I was going to be late, and I'm running across campus, and I looked down at what I was wearing, and it was the most mismatched, like, oh God. And I thought, oh my God, I look so ridiculous. But I don't know, I just had this flash, and I just realized there were all these other people around me. Nobody was looking at me. Nobody cared what I was wearing. Nobody cared. And it was a moment. It was at UNCW. I can show you exactly where I had that moment. It wasn't far from Galloway Hall. It was right on the sidewalk, not far from Galloway Hall, headed towards the post office, because I was living on campus. So it was when I was a freshman, because I lived on campus that year. I had just had this epiphany, like, Mary, nobody cares. Nobody gives a flip what you're wearing. Nobody cares that you didn't brush your hair. Nobody cares. And that stuck with me. Now, it didn't cure my anxiety. It didn't. But it gave me a better frame of reference for stuff. Because growing up, my mom was always very self-conscious too. And she worried a lot about what other people would think. Like, oh, I can't wear that. Oh, what if I saw somebody I knew? I need to change clothes before I go to the grocery store. Oh, look at my hair. Oh, Lord, what would anybody think if they saw this hair? Nobody gives a shit. Okay, I hate to be blunt. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. It's actually kind of self-absorbed to think that everybody around you cares so much about you being there. I mean, I'm not saying that to be mean. Tough love. Nobody cares, okay? As I've said, unless you walk into a public place wearing a big bird costume, juggling chainsaws, nobody cares what you're wearing, what you look like, the fact that you just tripped over nothing, because we've all done it. Nobody is looking at you. Nobody. And if they are looking at you, you only know that because you were looking at them, and they may be wondering why you're looking at them. And you're just stuck in a loop with a stranger. Why are you looking at me? Well, why are you looking at me? I don't really have a lot of brilliant advice on this. It's something that you're going to have to remind yourself of over and over and over for a long period of time before it's really going to sink in. If you have a lot of self-talk in your head, oh, what are people thinking? Oh, what will they think? Oh, no. Oh, you got to stop that. You have to stop that record from skipping around and around in your head. Nobody's thinking of you in that way. Nobody went into the store with a clipboard and a pen and they're just waiting for you to come in and they're going to start taking notes about you. Unless you're being followed by the CIA, that's not happening. Nobody is doing that. I mean, think about it this way. Can you describe to me 5 other people that you saw in the last store you went to? Can you describe them? Can you tell me what they were doing? Can you tell me anything about them? Can you describe one person? You probably can't, and those people couldn't describe you either because they weren't paying attention to you. They probably weren't even aware that you were there. I mean, most people walk around oblivious anymore anyway. They got their face in their phone or they got earbuds in. They're not worried about you. So once it really starts to sink in, it's liberating. It is so liberating to realize nobody cares. Nobody cares. And that is how I am able to make videos in stores and not feel the least bit self-conscious. I don't give a second thought to it because nobody cares. Nobody. Even if I'm in there organizing shelves, nobody cares. And even if they did care, what's the worst that could happen? If somebody in the store cared that you were there and was watching you, what's the worst that could happen? Ooh, they're watching me. And what does that mean? It means nothing. So I wouldn't waste a lot of time thinking about it. And I'm not trying to make light of the anxiety because I've dealt with it myself. And my mother had it really bad. There were a lot of times when I can remember being a child and there was this grocery store we used to go to. It was called Food Mart. Later it became Galaxy Food Mart. It's not there anymore. But I can remember being in the store with her as a small child and her having to go. There was a bench out in front of the store. And sometimes she would have to leave her cart in the store. She'd start hyperventilating. And she would either go sit, and I'd just have to sit with her and wait for her to kind of calm down. Or she'd go out to the car. We'd sit in the car. Like if it was cold, we'd go out to the car. And she would have to just like get herself together before she could go in and finish shopping. She would just leave her cart and then go back in and finish shopping. I can remember numerous times of her doing that. So I know she really had a problem with social anxiety. It made her extremely anxious to be in a store or in a public place. She had trouble with it. I've never dealt with anything like that, and I certainly have sympathy for anybody who's had to deal with that. I would recommend seeing a therapist or talking to somebody if you're dealing with that. There are a lot of great cognitive behavioral techniques that you can use to deal with that. I wouldn't automatically run to medication or anything like that. I would start with cognitive behavioral therapy. There are a lot of therapists that specialize in that, if that's an option for you. A lot of videos on YouTube that you can watch to learn how to calm yourself in situations like that. There's a lot of great advice out there for you, and I certainly have sympathy for you. I watched my mom go through it, and it looks terrible. I never had it that bad. But just keep reminding yourself that it's okay. It's okay. You have the right to be here. you don't need to feel like you don't belong here. Nobody is paying attention to you. Nobody is watching you. It's going to be okay. Just take deep breaths, and you know, it's okay. It's hard, I know, but there are ways that you can deal with it. So, but the trick is to just keep going and keep trying and keep reminding yourself that, you know, it's going to be okay and nobody's looking at you anyway. Number 22. Who is your favorite ASMR artist? And did you have a soft voice your whole life? Well, I don't have a soft voice now. I mean, I hate to bring it out to you, but this is my normal voice. What you normally hear, this is not how I talk in everyday life. My normal voice is actually more like Carl's. That's why doing Carl's voice is really not all that hard, because it's just like one gear down from my normal voice. My normal voice is actually much deeper than what you hear. But when you make ASMR, you can't talk like that. You have to rein it in a little bit, soften it up a lot. This is not how I normally talk like this. I don't go around talking like a fairy godmother all day long. No. So have I had a soft voice all my life? I don't have a soft voice. I've always had kind of a harder voice. It's actually kind of loud when I want it to be. I can project very well. This is not how I talk all day long unless I'm just trying to be quiet. My favorite ASMR artist. I don't watch ASMR. I stopped watching ASMR when I started making ASMR videos. Because watching them doesn't do anything for me anymore. If anything, it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel weird. I don't watch any ASMR at all. But Gentle Whispering she was my favorite above anyone else. Once I found her, before I started making videos, once I found her, I said, that's it. That is what I have been looking for. And I loved it. She has always been my favorite. There's nobody that even comes close. I mean, she was it. Once I found her, and this was years ago, back when she was a small channel, that's when I first discovered her, because every now and then I would search on Google, because I was trying to understand, you know, before ASMR had a name, why do some sounds and visual things make my scalp tingle? Like I get a tingly scalp and it kind of runs down my spine. And it makes me just feel so relaxed. Like, what is that? Because I had tried to talk to some people about it. Like, do you ever experience that? And they would just look at me like I was nuts. Like, no, that's weird. Somebody said, you might want to see a doctor about that. That's not normal. Like, I don't want to cure it. I love it. I'm just curious to know what it is. And then one day, I was so excited that one day I Googled it and the term ASMR came up. And I read about it. I said, that's it. That's exactly it. I have had it as far back as I can remember. And then, so I started looking around on YouTube for videos, and I found one from Hush, Virginia. Is that right? It was a typing video. It's just the sound of typing, because I love this. Certain typing sounds are really nice. Not all. You know, some people type really hard, and it's not, I don't know, it just has to be a certain type of typing. And then I found Gentle Whispering, and I was very happy to find her. There were a lot of days I had headphones in at work and was listening to her videos while I worked. We weren't supposed to do that, but I did it. I loved it. Or I would listen to that typing video over and over and over because it was so calming. And I did that a lot. So Gentle Whispering will always be my favorite. But I don't watch any of it anymore because it just doesn't work for me anymore. That's one thing I gave up when I started making videos, was that those videos don't work for me anymore. So I did lose that, unfortunately. 23. Any advice for someone who feels lost and doesn't know what they want to do in life? That's tough. And I think there are a lot of young people who feel that way, a lot of older people too. I think a lot of young people just feel like their life has no direction, no purpose at all. It's a hard question. I would start by thinking about the things you do like. What kind of things do you enjoy? And this is lame advice that your guidance counselor probably has already given you, but think about the things that you like. What do you like to do? What what excites you? What brings you joy? Can you, I mean, if you're thinking of me like, don't know what you want to do in life, I'm assuming you mean like a job or a career. I would look into things that you enjoy first. But you need to make sure you're looking into something that's going to pay. I mean, there are a lot of things that you can do, but they don't pay very well. So you can do them, but I don't know how you're going to pay your bills. And if you're in college, I would also recommend if whatever your major is, you need to make sure that you can make money with that job, because especially if you have a lot of student loan debt, you're going to need a way to pay it off. Make sure that your degree is marketable. There are a lot of degrees that you can get these days that just aren't marketable at all. You may be able to get a job, but it's not going to pay much. You can't always do what your heart wants to do when it comes to making money. Sometimes you're just going to have to do something else to make money. I mean, you're not guaranteed an easy life. Humans throughout history have never had an easy life, and you're not going to have one either. You're not entitled to that. No one is. You're going to have to work. But I would start, if you feel like you don't know what you want to do, you feel lost, I would try talking to someone, somebody in your life that you respect their opinion and you value their opinion and you feel like they might be able to help you out. Maybe they can give you some suggestions. You could try doing some volunteer work. It will get you out, and you can meet people that way. You can do some good for your community. It might even work. It might even introduce you to someone who can get you a job that you like. If you like animals, you could go volunteer at the animal shelter, and that might lead to something that you never expected. It might turn your life in a whole other direction, and you could find some rewarding stuff there. Because I know, like here, the animal shelter is always looking for volunteers. They're always looking for people to help. So even if you can just do it a few hours a week, I mean, they'd love to have you. And you might find a career through that. You might find a career doing something like that, working with animals. That would be my recommendation. Just start with stuff that you enjoy, things that bring you happiness, whatever that looks like for you, because it's going to be different for everybody. 24. Have you had any experiences where people recognize you? Many, many times. Many, 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 many times. I'm recognized pretty frequently. It's funny because it first started happening when my channel was small. I mean, I had like 50,000 subscribers, and I was recognized. People started recognizing me then, which I wasn't expecting at all. The first time it happened, it was really weird. I couldn't believe it. Like, what are the odds of somebody seeing me, and my channel's like this big, But yeah, it happens all the time. It's always really cool. I've never had anybody be mean or weird about it. Everybody is different. When some people respond by going, "Oh my God," most people aren't like that though. Some people will, like, they keep their distance, which is what I would do. I totally respect that. Like, if I saw somebody, I wouldn't want them to be afraid of me. Like, I don't want to go running up to them. I would just wave from a respectful distance and, "I love your stuff," and I would leave, and that would be it. Like, I don't want to bother you. And I just try to do whatever they do. If they get excited, I get excited too, unless it freaks me out. There was this one time that this girl just started screaming, and I was just like, I wasn't prepared for it. My mind, I was like a million miles away. I was thinking about something else, and for a moment, I wasn't sure what was happening. She was like a teenager, so a young girl, and I think I must have looked scared because she said, "Oh, no, no, no." I think I probably looked scared. But no, yeah. Back when we had masks on all the time, it didn't happen much. But after the masks came off, yeah, people recognized me. I've been recognized in all different kinds of stores, walking down the street, in drive-thrus. I've been recognized in drive-thrus. Like, "Oh my God, do you have a YouTube channel?" Like, "Yeah." "Oh my God," it's so cute. Oh my gosh, it normally happens when I'm by myself. It's happened when at least one of my kids was with me, and my younger son thinks that's cool. Like, She actually knew you. Like, yeah. And he asked me the first time it happened, does that happen a lot? It's weird because it comes in bunches. I'll go for a while and it won't happen. And then I'll have a week where 3 people in different places will recognize me. It's weird. It seems to come in bunches. But yeah, it happens. It's been happening forever. I've had people recognize me when I was doing, like, making videos. Usually, though, it will happen when I'm just shopping somewhere. And there have been a lot of times where somebody will see me and they will just kind of look at me like, they get this look on their face like, but they don't say anything. So I don't say anything either. I just keep walking. Like, maybe they just remembered something. It may have nothing to do with me, or there'll be a couple of people and they're talking like this, and they're looking at me, but they don't. When I look at them, they they scurry away. Like, maybe I'm being followed by the CIA. I don't know. I've had that happen too. So if you ever see me, it's okay. You can say hey. It's cool. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not mean. I'm not going to bite you. So yes, I do have experiences where people recognize me. It's always really nice. Let's say 25. What does your family think of you doing ASMR? I think I already kind of addressed this one. Do they watch your channel? Have you ever filmed an ASMR in public while they're with you? What do they think of it? It's like any other hobby. I don't think they really have an opinion one way or the other about it. They don't really think about it. It would just be like I said in the other video, like if I did, knitting or crochet for a hobby. Like, yeah, my mom does that. They don't really seem to care one way or the other. Do they watch my channel? No, they don't. No, none of my kids don't. My parents don't. Nobody in my family watches what I do, to the best of my knowledge. Have you ever filmed an ASMR in public while they were with you? No, I have not. I'm always by myself when I do that. Think about it. It would be incredibly boring. Like, if I'm in Dollar General organizing shelves for 45 minutes, what are they going to do? They're just going to stand around with their hands in their pockets? Like, no, I wouldn't have them there because I know how boring that would be. They probably just have to go wait in the car. No, I wouldn't do it if they were with me because that would be very boring. How do you make big decisions? Jobs, kids, etc. How do you make big decisions? Well, just like just like small decisions, honestly, you try to weigh the pros and the cons of your options. And you're never going to know 100% if you're making the right decision or not. Several people asked, how do you know when it's the right time to have kids? Or should I have kids? It's never going to be the right time to have kids. There is never going to be one exact right moment to have kids because having kids is not a singular point in time. It's going to affect the rest of your life, especially the next 18 years of it. It's never going to be perfect. Life is messy. There are going to be rough times. Whether you have kids or not, you're going to go through rough times. And sometimes will be awesome. And that will be true whether you have kids or not. I can't answer whether or not you should have kids or take a certain job or get married. I can't answer that for you. Part of being an adult is that sometimes you just have to look at your options, hope for the best, and make a choice. You just have to, and you're never going to know for sure if you made the right choice or not. And you're going to wonder the rest of your life, what if I had done this? Would that have been better? And you're always going to wonder and you're never going to know. Surprise! Every adult has something like that. That's one thing we all have in common. Every adult walking around today, if you were to ask them if they were being honest, they have at least one thing that they wonder about, like, what if I had done that instead? What would my life look like right now? Would it have been better? Would I be happier? You'll never know because you can't choose both. We're not Schrodinger's cat. We can't be both dead and alive. You got to pick one. And you just have to take that path. Now, again, if you make a choice and you're going down a path and you don't like it and you're thinking, this is not good for me, depending on the choice, you may be able to change and go a different way. You could try something else. You don't, you're not in prison. Well, if you are in prison, I guess you can't really help you there, but you're not committed. Like if you choose a job and it's not at all what you thought it was going to be, and it's a horrible environment, and you're not happy there, you're miserable, you can try to find another job. I wouldn't quit that job till you have a new job. Stay in that job and don't burn bridges. I would recommend that too, because you never know when you might need them again for something. You're never going to know 100% what the right choice is or when the right time is to do something. You're just going to have to jump in there and go for it. Sometimes you just have to go for it. I can't answer that for you. And that's one of the things about being an adult. You're never going to know for sure about a lot of big decisions in your life. Just try to figure out what makes the best sense to you. What looks like the best choice to you. And don't look back on the choices you made when you were younger and be too hard on yourself, because those choices you made based on what you knew at the time and what you thought was the best choice to make. I mean, you didn't have all the information now that you had. You didn't have all that back then. You made those choices based on what you knew or what you thought you knew. You just have to go forward and try to continue making the best choices you can. That's all anybody can do. That's the best anybody can do. No matter who you are. I mean, that applies to every one of us. So, how do you make big decisions? Carefully. You want to carefully consider all of your options. Sometimes you just have to close your eyes and just pick. You just got to pick one and go for it and see what happens. I don't really have any more advice than that. I'm sorry. Number 27. Where do you get your strength and perseverance from? Not physical strength, but the kind you need to face life's adversities. Well, I did kind of cover this before. I grew up in, how do I put this? What I wanted for my life was not at all what certain other people wanted for my life. And certain other people in my life were very, very unhappy with me for choosing to do with my life differently, like making different decisions for myself. They were very unhappy about it and attempted to change my mind, to dissuade me and say, oh, you can't do that. You'll be home by Christmas. Who do you think you are? You know what you are? You're a big fish in a little pond. You think you're something, but you're not. You're going to get out there in the world and realize you can't hack it. And I just hate to see that happen to you. So, but if this is what you choose, well, I guess I'll see you later once you crash and burn and come back. So that's I dealt with that as a young person. But for me, the best motivation for me is for somebody to tell me I can't do it. Like, you can't do that. Really? I'll do it twice and take pictures. And I did. I graduated twice and took pictures because I had people telling me you can't make it. You can't handle college. You think you're a big shot because you did well in high school. You think you're something. You're nobody. You can't handle it. You're going to get there and realize you can't hack it. You'll flunk out by Christmas. You'll be back here. We'll see about that. No, I graduated with honors and I have 2 degrees. I was 3 credit hours shy of having a double major in 4 years while working and being a research assistant. Because I will be damned if somebody else's opinion of me will determine my future. Don't let anybody do that to you either, because I'm here to tell you you can. Way too many people out there are very invested in dousing your light and calming you down, keeping you down where they want you to be. Don't let them do it. Don't let them do it. And once you start to achieve things for yourself, it really is a springboard to even more and more success. Because you know you can do it. You've already proven to yourself that you can. I can do it. I did do it. And I can do this too. And I can do that too. And I'm going to. And I did. Once you start small if you need to, reach small goals. It will push you to reach bigger and bigger goals. And I persevere because I'm stubborn. A good thing about me is that I'm extremely stubborn. I'm very, very stubborn. I don't like being told what to do. It's kind of a conflict because I'm stubborn, but I'm also a people pleaser. I want people to be happy with me, but I also want to be happy with myself. I still want to do what I want to do. So I'm conflicted all the time. I think that conflict is where all my nervous energy comes from. So, what do you need to face life's adversities? Don't be afraid to lean on other people, but I've always been kind of a loner. I do better on my own. That's just my style, though. You might do better talking to other people. I do better just on my own, like I can do this. Let me work it out in my own mind. I can do it. Draw on your own strengths where you can and where you need to, but don't ever forget that you're capable. You are capable of a lot more than you think you are. And don't ever let anybody tell you different. But you also have to put in the work. You can be capable all day long, but if you don't do the work, you're not going to get anywhere. So you got to be capable and you got to do it. Every day. I mean, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're not going to get there in 5 minutes. It may take you 5 years to get to where you want to be. Keep your eye on that goal. Even if stuff comes up and it slows you down, don't give up. Keep going. As long as you keep going, that's what matters. Getting knocked back, having to stop, okay, fine, but keep going. Don't let it stop you permanently. The most important thing you can do is keep going. That's my advice. Oh yeah, somebody asked me, why do you call your soft-spoken videos soft-spoken? That's just your normal voice. Well, I already pointed out it's actually not my normal voice. This is my normal voice right here. So I call it soft-spoken because for me it is soft-spoken. Yeah, I already addressed that one. But I do get that question pretty frequently, like, why do you even bother labeling it soft-spoken? I mean, it's not ASMR if it's just your regular voice. Well, honey, I beg to differ because unintentional ASMR is my favorite. And so that was another question that I didn't put on here, but sometimes people's regular voices, like Bob Ross, I don't know if he talked like that all the time like he did in his Joy of Painting show, but I've run across people in real life that just their normal voice was so tingly. I could listen to them talk all day long and I wouldn't even care what they talked about. It was just so nice. And I think about that and I try to copy it when I speak, when I do my soft-spoken videos. I'm thinking of Bob Ross. There was this guy who used to work at the post office who had a voice just like that. I could listen to him talk all day long. Very few men give me ASMR, but that soft Bob Ross-like voice, it's so good. And I really miss it. There was a guy that used to work at the post office I go to frequently that he had a voice just like Bob Ross's. It was so good. I would hope that I could be in line for a while where I could just listen to him talk. I get sick. There's a type of ASMR, and I'm getting it right now. Like if I can remember a moment. I can remember a moment and get ASMR, like my scalp is tingling at this point because I'm remembering his voice. It's not everybody gets that, but I can experience that sometimes. So I call it soft-spoken because for me, it is. That's not my real voice. This is my real voice. This is how I sound in everyday life. It's funny too because people say, I wish I was your kid. I would just have ASMR around you all the time. No, you wouldn't. No, because I don't talk like that with them. They have a very different version of me. And I'm a single parent, so sometimes I have to be the bad guy. So yeah, I'm not all sweetness and light. And then somebody asked me, what are your hobbies? Making videos, I say, would probably be the one that I engage in the most. I love going fishing. Fishing is my favorite hobby, but I never get to do it. I keep saying I'm going to go, and then I just never go. I don't like surf fishing or deep sea fishing or any of that. I've done surf fishing. I've never done deep sea fishing. So I guess I shouldn't say that I don't like it because I've actually never tried it. It's very expensive. I just don't want to pay what it costs to go deep sea fishing. So it's expensive. I don't even like fishing in rivers. I like to fish in lakes and ponds. It's just very relaxing. You know, you can just sit there, and I don't eat fish. I always just put them back. I don't keep the fish. I throw them back. Like Bob Ross says, they just have a sore mouth, you know. I've always loved to fish. My grandmother taught me to fish when I was 4. All the women in my mother's family fish, except my mom. She doesn't like it. The others do, though. The men don't really do it. It's the women. It's weird. But she taught me how to fish when I was little, and we had a pond, and I would go up there and fish, and it was great. I've always enjoyed it. I just go by myself. You know, I like being by myself, and I go fishing, and that's just a fun way to spend a nice afternoon. So that's my favorite thing to do. Working out, I think I would consider my exercise, because I work out most weeks. I work out 6 days a week. I do enjoy that. It makes me feel better. It's good for me, and so I would consider that a hobby as well. So that's pretty much all the hobbies I have. And the final question, and this one I get a lot, to the point where I made a video dedicated to answering it. Why do you use such a terrible camera? Why don't you buy better equipment? My stomach's growling. It's lunchtime. Why do you use such terrible equipment? Because I want to. I want to. I never had a desire to make sharp, beautiful production quality videos that look like commercials. I'm not saying anything against people who do. I make videos that typically are the type that I would want to watch if I still watched ASMR videos, which I don't. To me, and this is just me, and clearly most people don't feel this way, because those really sharp, beautiful videos are on channels 10 times bigger than mine. To me, those super sharp, crisp videos seem to lose something. I just feel like I'm watching a commercial. And again, I mean no disrespect. I'm not saying anything about anybody. This is just how I feel. They're too pretty. They're too perfect. And it loses something for me. I don't know what it is, but even back before I started making ASMR videos, I preferred just kind of like the soft, unprofessional looking stuff. So I've never really worried about it. I like filming on my potato. My potato has served me very well. I've gotten used to it. It's like I'm talking to a friend, you know, because I've been looking into this potato for a long time, and when this potato dies, I just buy another potato. I'm on my 3rd or 4th potato at this point. I mean, some of my videos are sharper, and I use different stuff for that. Some of the videos are sharper because it's stuff where I want you to see the detail. But videos like this, do you need to see every pore on my face to feel like it's a good video? See, I think we live in a world where everything is so perfect and polished that when we are confronted with something that's not, we see it as faulty or defective. I don't see it that way. Real life is not perfect. And for me, unintentional ASMR is still the best. And unintentional ASMR isn't perfect. It's not beautiful. It's not edited. It's just real people doing real things. They're not doing it to give me ASMR, but they are. I try in every video to copy that. I want to try to capture that in a video. And I have no desire to go with anything different. I like my videos the way they are. I have no intention to change them. but I do get that question a lot, and I figured I should probably address it. But I do have a whole video. It's a little short video that I made to answer that question for people, and when they ask it, I will respond to their comment with a link to the video. People don't seem to appreciate it when I do that, but it does answer their question. So that is my list. That was 30 questions. There were a lot more. I do apologize that I didn't get to all of them. Some of them I felt were a little, not really personal. Most people stayed away from the creepy personal questions, so I do appreciate that. I do get very creepy personal questions from time to time, and I just ignore them. I just don't answer them. I do try to read comments on my videos. Sometimes because I get a lot every day, and I can't always read them all, but I also wanted to say a special thank you to all of my new Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. I really, really appreciate it. And I haven't had a chance to thank each of you personally yet. I'm trying to get to that. There have been so many, and I really appreciate it so much. I really do. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed getting to hear in these 2 videos the answers to these 30 questions today. And thank you so much for being here. I really hope that you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again soon.